welcome back to the Book Bar, where everything bookish is on the menu. I'm Anjanette Barr, and today I'd like to tell you about what I'm going to read to my children in 2021. Before I get started on the books, I asked my daughter to get me some tea, and she brought me something. It's a mystery. We're going to find out what it is. Oh, it says yogi tea. Trust is the union of intelligence and integrity, but it doesn't say what kind it is. I think that she brought me my stress relief tea, which is hopefully not a coded message. So I'm going to make myself some tea regardless. Okay, so while that's brewing, let's get started. In a previous video that I recorded this year, I talked about my own plans for reading for 2021, and I said I wanted to read 50 books, and I was only going to count chapter books. So reading to my children chapter books absolutely counts toward my goal, and in fact, I'd say almost half of my books every year end up being children's chapter books of varying degrees of difficulty, because sometimes I'm reading a book to them because it's still too difficult for them to read to themselves, and sometimes it's just so that we can have some family shared community and culture around the literature that we all enjoy. So I'm going to walk through the different things that I plan to read them this year, and I don't necessarily need to stick to this number of books. We may read more, and we may actually read fewer if life gets in the way, because, you know, last year things went crazy. Although we did end up reading plenty last year, you never know. So rather than saying that this is like where we'll limit ourselves to, this is what I have planned. This is what's coming up next for us and what I hope to get through, but we're going to get through what we get through. So in another video, I am going to go through why I read aloud to my children, including my teenager. Right now I only have one, but it will always be that I read out loud to my children. And also what kinds of things I read out loud and where I get my recommendations. But for this video, let's just go through these books, and I'll kind of talk through some of that as I go. So right now we are reading this book and really enjoying it. This is Glitch. The author is Laura Martin, and it was recommended to us by Sarah Mackenzie from Read Aloud Revival. So I'll put the link to the book at both Amazon and bookshop.org in the description, and also I'll put the link to Sarah Mackenzie's website, because she is just a treasure for finding really good children's literature and adult literature for that matter. But we're about a quarter of the way through this book, so I couldn't spoil it if I tried. But I can tell you what we think of it so far, and that is that every time I finish reading a chapter, the kids wish I would just keep going. So this is definitely a middle grade book. It was written in 2020, so this is a new book. This author also wrote the Edge of Extinction books, if you've heard of those. So you may already be familiar with her. This is my first introduction to her. And this book, Glitch, is about time-traveling kids. So that's super fun. It's definitely contemporary or futuristic. And the plot revolves around two children in particular who are kind of just about to go on to the next level of their training to be glitchers, which are kids who help prevent other time travelers from messing up the future. So they train to be able to spot what are called butterflies, which are people who are out of time, out of the time that they're supposed to be in, who are trying to manipulate history. So the opening kind of sequence, it walks us through Abraham Lincoln's assassination, and there is a butterfly trying to prevent the person who shot Lincoln, and then there is one of our glitchers trying to prevent the butterfly from preventing Abe's assassination. And it's really fun. It talks you through why changing even one thing in history has this string of consequences, and how part of the purpose of the adults in the organization that these children are in is to kind of weigh the value and keep track of the kind of ramifications of these things being changed so that things don't go haywire. So the conflict comes in pretty quickly. These two children that you see on the front cover are not friends. They're not even frenemies yet. And through a series of unforeseen events, they have to work together. So anyway, you can find out more about this by both looking at Sarah Mackenzie's site and just looking at reviews. So I'll leave that to you if you are interested. But so far, it's super compelling, and it's also a super easy read aloud. It's fun, and it's funny as well. So that's what we're reading first. So next, we have been reading through Narnia, and this is the second time I've read through Narnia with my children, but the first time I read it through with them, they were much younger, and I took a few years break, and now we're circling back to it. So the youngest ones have never heard Narnia, and the older ones, it's been a long enough time that they don't remember the exact phrases, they don't remember the exact sequence of events, and so it's been really enjoyable for them as well. Plus, rereading has its own pleasures. So my children are 6 through 13. I have 4 of them, and we're all reading all of these books together. We often read at tea time. I'll do another video about what we call poetry tea time, which really can include reading aloud as well. And it's part of our family culture now, and it's just been a huge blessing to our whole family and a lot of fun. So we usually read during tea time in the afternoon, not every day, and occasionally I'll just pick it up on a weekend when they're bored or everyone's kind of has frenetic energy to get everyone to sit back down. When the littles were littler, it was more of a challenge, and sometimes now it's a little bit much for my 5, almost 6-year-old. Still to sit and listen through very long. So we read about a chapter at a time. So if you are new to the Chronicles of Narnia, you may not know the controversy surrounding what order to read these books in. So I'm just going to run through the 2 main schools of thought on how to read the Chronicles of Narnia, of which there are 7 books. So I'm going to open this up so that I can read the order that we're currently reading in and show you the lovely dust jackets. So we're currently reading in the chronological order, so the order that the events in the series actually took place. The last time we read it in the order of publication. So he started publishing them in 1950 with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But in this series, the way it's published, and this is the way it's published across the board now, I think since 1994, they've been publishing it with The Magician's Nephew first. So because it was published the other way around, or you could find them both ways, from 1950 to 1994, there are a lot of people who feel strongly about which order you should read this in. I don't have a strong opinion. I think reading both ways has different advantages. The things that you learn about the characters and how the plot unravels are different depending on how you read it. So I liked both ways. I don't feel strongly. This order is The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, and The Last Battle. So we have read 4 of the 7 already over the past year, maybe a year and some. And so we will be starting, after we finish Glitch, we'll be starting The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which may be one of my favorites. So I'm excited. I like them all, and every time, this is my 3rd read through myself, and every time I come back to parts of each one that I like, I think, oh yeah, that's right, this is my favorite. So I don't really know which one is my favorite. Maybe I'll have an opinion when I'm full all the way through. I know that the very first time I read through them, The Last Battle was my favorite. And then I think that the second time it was The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. So we'll see what I think when we're finished. Even my 5-year-old, he's been 5 as we've been reading these, can remember and enjoy this world. And C.S. Lewis is just a genius for myth and gentle magic, and also really hard hitting universal truths told through stories that are engaging. So we just love Narnia and all the little ways that it works its way into our lives. So I've got 3 more of these. So we'll be reading The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and then The Silver Chair, which I remember liking the least. So we'll see how that goes, see what my children think. And then The Last Battle, which made me cry the last 2 times. So that's on the menu for this year. Tea break. Okay, so I'm also planning on reading to my children this year one of my childhood favorites that none of them have read yet, as far as I know, unless one of them has just picked it up off of the shelf. And I bought us a new hardcover edition from Barnes & Noble. I'm pretty sure this is from Barnes & Noble to celebrate. Oh, look at the end papers. I love it. Yep, this is a Barnes & Noble. Oh, and the illustration plates. So pretty. Oh my gosh. So I have a paperback version of this on their shelves, and they have not seen this one yet because I have been saving it. Gilded Edges. Thank you. Yes. So I just love the look of this one. So I bought this to read, and it has a ribbon. I love the Barnes & Noble collectible editions. I have a lot of duplicates because I try and get them when they're on sale. So check Barnes & Noble for these beautiful hardbound, and they have some paperbacks that are pretty too. Every once in a while, because sometimes they're $5 or $10, which is just insane. And they often have free shipping, even out here to Alaska. So I am pretty spoiled by Barnes & Noble. In case you didn't know, I'm in Juneau, Alaska, and we do have books. We do have bookstores here in Juneau. We don't have any chains of stores like Barnes & Noble to buy from. We have some local stores that I love to support, but they have a limited selection, though they can order things for you. So I love that Barnes & Noble ships here. So The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett was one of my favorites as a child. I think I must have read it around 10 or so. I'm not sure exactly. And I just remember it captivating my imagination and my make-believe and my dreams for the future for a long, long time. So this year in our homeschool, we are studying flowers and weeds for our 3rd term for nature study. If you're interested in our homeschool curriculum, just out of curiosity, we use Ambleside Online, and there are 3 different terms, and each term has a dedicated topic for nature study. So our first term this year was reptiles, and then our second term, the one right now is rivers, lakes, and oceans, I think, is the way they summed it up, but basically bodies of water is kind of how I'm interpreting it. We're studying different types of bodies of water and what lives in them and the ecology of them. And then starting in a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing weeds and flowers. So we have several shorter picture books and nonfiction picture books that we'll be covering. And then we always plant a garden, so we'll be incorporating that into it as well. And we love to forage, so when things start to sprout again, we'll be able to do that. But for our kind of longer term read aloud, I chose The Secret Garden because I know it will inspire them. So if you're not familiar with The Secret Garden, this is a novel written in 1911, and it is set in England, and it's about a young girl, 10 years old, named Mary, who has been mistreated in her childhood and has just a sour disposition because of it. And her parents die, and she is sent to live with her uncle. So that's when the story starts to unfold, and she needs an attitude adjustment, understandably, both from her upbringing and from the trauma that she's been through, losing her parents and moving, and some of the things that happen early in the novel. And this place that she gets sent to is just enchanting, and it takes a little bit to discover why. And she has some friends in the story, 2 boys that I just love the relationships that form in this story. But the best part of all is the enchanting secret garden that she discovers. It's been shut up for years, and you learn why it's been closed up. And she finds a way to get in and needs to make it her own, and she has these friends that help her, and it's a story of healing and of friendship and just a lot of really poignant, sweet lessons in kind of a gentle unfolding in a way that I think will impact my kids and probably make me cry. So I'm looking forward to it. And the last series that I have lined up for us, though who knows what will happen, I may find something else after this or find something pressing to put in before, is the Cottage at Bantry Bay trilogy. I think it's just often called the Bantry Bay series by Hilda Van Stockum. And this is a completely new series to me. I bought it just based on recommendations. It was out of print for a long time, so I don't even know anyone who's read it. So if you've read it, tell me what you think. I'm sure we'll still read it unless you tell me it's just terrible. But I don't think people would love it so much they'd want to put it back in print if it was terrible, I hope. And I do read good reviews online, but I don't even know anyone to ask. So I'm taking a risk on reading this, and all I know about it is that it's about a family and who lives in Ireland, and that's it. Honestly, it's about a family who lives in Ireland, and it's charming and lots of family lessons. It's about as blind as I ever go into anything, and I do kind of like going in blind because it'll all be a mystery to all of us. So the books are The Cottage at Bantry Bay, Pegeen, and Francie on the Run. So I'm very, very excited to see what we have in store for us reading this. And I will say that it was recommended to me by some homeschoolers, so I imagine that it is a favorite in some of those crowds. And I've just glanced through and seen that it has some charming illustrations in it. So yeah, we'll see. The family is the O'Sullivans, and I don't know anything else. So tell me what you know. Tell me what we should expect, but don't spoil it. I'd love to know what you're reading to your children this year, and tell me how old your kids are if you feel comfortable with it, and tell me if you enjoy reading aloud or if you find it challenging. And just a real quick tip, not that you asked for one, is if you do find it challenging to read aloud, if you're not familiar, if you're not experienced in it, and it's feeling awkward to you, which it I think does to most of us when we first start reading aloud to our children, try listening to an audiobook together first to break the ice, because it's really nice to experience it together and get the benefits of that shared experience before trying to get into the intimidating job of reading the different character voices or whatever it is that makes you feel uncomfortable with it. But it has been such a cool thing for our family to have lots of time together, and it's made me a better reader. I think it's made them better readers, hearing things as well as seeing things in their lessons. You know, their normal school lessons, I read to them as well, and they have to do some reading on their own. But this is no pressure, right? It's just for fun. So I'm not quizzing them on it, and they don't have to remember any of it, and they can play with Play-Doh or their Legos while we're doing it. So it's just a really fun experience. As always, when you leave me a comment telling me what you're reading, tell me what's in your cup. And thank you for watching this episode of The Book Bar. Stay tuned for more episodes about children's books. I have a lot of fun ideas, and I definitely want to tell you some of my favorites in each category for each age level as well.